Into Under the Spotlight. I'm Carmela, and I'm souped up about his guest today because he literally would walk over fire if he could help you. If you needed him, he would literally do that for you. He's a fire walker. And I know a lot of us are like, what? Wait, what are you talking about? This man has a legacy to leave. He is generous and kind and loving and giving, and has helped people have these breakthroughs through multiple ways. One of the many ways is walking over fire. Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought about that? Walking over fire. I think it would be incredible when you get on the other side. Without further ado, here's a very special man who's well known in the podcast community, and I'm happy to have him here today under the spotlight. Meet Dave Albin. Hey, Dave.
Hi, Carmela. Well, it was quite a mouthful. It was beautiful. Thank you. I'm really juiced to be here. I'm stoked to be here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'm glad to hear that. So everybody's so enthralled with fire walking, not fireworks. I want to start there because I can see at the end like the woo, I did it. But taking that first step might be a little difficult for some of us. Yeah. I'd be in that category.
Yeah, metaphorically, it's pretty obvious in life. It's all about that first step on many things, right? So, sure. Yeah, it's beautiful.
You worked with Tony Robbins for a number of years. Is that where fire walking was introduced in your life, or was it something else?
Well, it's where when we were talking offline, we were talking about sobriety and the fact that, I just celebrated 35 years. And when I got to AA, because I had insomnia, I was up late at night all the time. So there I was in 1988, right? I was up late at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there he is, Mr. Enthusiasm, a young Tony Robbins, right? With Gunther Ranker and selling his personal power program. And you know what, Carmela, when I first heard of him, I was like, what? He's obnoxious. He's all motivated, he's all, encouraging. And I wasn't motivated at the time. I found him very annoying. But he said a couple of things that got me, obviously. One was, he said, we'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. And I went, wow, I'm in a lot of pain. Maybe I should listen to a little more of what this guy's got to say. And then here's what got me. He said that the driving force in our life is we're motivated out of inspiration or desperation. And I went, oh, I'm kind of desperate. So maybe I should listen a little more. So anyway, he was selling a program. It was a 30-day program, personal power. To date this, it came on these little white things called cassette tapes.
With the ribbon, and you had to swirl back with the pencil, the ribbon.
Oh my gosh, no. Creedence Clearwater Revival. I got to rewind it. So, some of your listeners will have no idea. You can see them.
Well, they'll Google it.
They'll Google it. They'll go to the Smithsonian. You can see them there, right? They'll be sitting right next to, to big reel-to-reel tapes. So anyway, he sent me the program. I bought it, sent it to me. I plugged it in. I did what the man taught me to do it, and it worked. And so I started making a lot of changes in my life. I started working out. I started losing weight. I started my own business. I was kind of getting myself out of a bad relationship that I was in. And so one of my buddies in AA saw what was going on. He's like, why are you so motivated all of a sudden? You're all chippy and happy and, what's going on with you?
Bad thing. Like the friend is like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. You're happy? How could you be in AA and, happy, joyous, and free? So, again, the 12 steps in AA and the personal development industry was coming together in my life at the same time. So I felt good. I believed. I was like, finally, this is what I've been looking for, right? Well, I said, hey, Dan, I've been listening to this guy, Tony Robbins. He goes, hey, I know who Tony Robbins is. I bought his book. I go, well, look, I've got his program. It's a 30-day program. It's on tape. If you want to listen to it, you want to borrow it, I'll loan it to you. If you promise me you'll go through it. He said, I promise, I'll do it. So I did. I loaned it to him. Well, that was in 88. Well, 7 years later, 1995, my phone rings. Guess who it is? It's my buddy Dan. And he's like, hey, Dave, did you know that Tony Robbins is coming to town? And I said, no, I had no idea. He goes, dude, come on. You got to go with me, man. You got me into this, right? And I said, no, dude, I'll go with you. Absolutely. I'd love to see Tony. And so he goes, great. That's all I needed. I'll call you back. And he called me back like an hour later and he goes, done. We pick up the tickets at will call. Here's what they told us to do. Number one, bring snacks because you're going to spend a lot of time in the room. What an understatement that was. Drink a lot of water. Hydrate. Make sure you stay hydrated throughout this 4-day event. Okay, gotcha. Days? 4 days, yeah, 4-day event. Bring a good attitude and be ready to play full out, he said. And I go, Dan, how much was the ticket? He said $695. I went, $700? Now, this is in 1995. What's that worth today? What's that equate to? 7 million? I don't know. It was a lot, right? Yeah, something like that. 7.2 billion, whatever it was. And I said, well, don't you worry, Dan. I'll play full out. And as he's getting ready to hang up the phone, he goes, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you the most important part. I'm like, what? He goes, we're going to be doing a fire walk. I remember thinking, here's what, now I'm not saying anything, Dan, but here's what's playing in my head. I'm like, oh, hell no. No. We're not doing any
fire walk.
No. That's for the crazy people. We're not doing that. I'll go see Tony, but I'll just watch those idiots do that, right? Because I'm sure he's not going to make you do anything, right? Or not even try. So I'm like, yeah, Dan, sure. Sounds interesting. Fire walk. All right, see you then. Well, the day comes and we get to the event and Tony takes the stage at 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, the next thing I know, it's after midnight. 10 hours in a room with Tony Robbins. Remember the snacks? Bring snacks. You're going to starve to death.
Gosh, seriously?
Well, those came in handy because you're not leaving. You're not leaving. You're in that room for 10 hours.
What?
And the next thing you know, after midnight, all of a sudden Tony goes, take your shoes off. And I'm like, oh, no. I see where you're going with that, pal. No. You're not tricking me. Well, I'm in a room with 3,500 people, Carmela, right?
3,500 people for 10 hours.
3,500 people, 10 hours.
And spaghetti and meatballs.
And and they're all starting to take their shoes off. So now I've got a dilemma. If I don't take my shoes off and I have to go outside with the rest of them, they're going to know I'm a coward because I got my shoes on. So we can't have that. So I'll just take my shoes off and I'll fake it. Well, it gets worse because now before you're going out there, he gets everybody chanting and clapping.
Oh, gosh.
So everybody's going, yes. And now 3,500 people walking out into this huge parking lot chanting. It gets worse because when you get outside, he's got African drummers. So now it's dun, 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 dun. And yes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what a dog and pony show this is. Well, when you get outside, over in the corner of the parking lot, there's a giant fire. It's every bit of 30 to 40 feet wide and 70 feet long. And it's huge. And they've been burning it all day. All right. So they've been loading it with wood, and it renders 10 hours later. And it's this big, giant, beautiful blue flames. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful, right? Well, logistically, how you do this with 3,500 people is you take a wheelbarrow over to that pit, you fill up the wheelbarrow, you pull a wheelbarrow in between 2 lanes of sod, what we call a fire lane, 3 feet wide, 18 feet long. And he just takes a flathead shovel and you just sprinkle the coals on top of that grass, and that's what you walk on. Well, I'm having none of it. I'm heading to the back, right? I'm hiding out, no doubt about it, not doing this. Well, Tony knows that a fire walk is one of the most life-changing experiences on earth. He knows. He's studied it long before he brought it to his events. It's the reason he does it on day 1 of a 4-day event that night. So he knows that there's going to be people like me. The cowards are hiding in the back. And so what's he do? He trains people to come get you. And so I'm back there minding my own business, thinking I'm safe, thinking I'm going to get through this, right, without having to do it. And all of a sudden, here comes this guy, and he locks eyes with me. So Tony must train them. Look, when you make eye contact with these people, don't take your eyes off them. And he makes
Why did you not want to do this? Why were you hiding in the back? What were you afraid of?
Because I was scared to death. Fear had been right? Yeah, fear had been controlling my entire life. Everything that I didn't have in my life that I could have had Fear took it from me. Because fear is a liar, right? It makes stuff up. I mean, we know, right? What's the acronym? Up until that point, fear, here's what fear meant to me. Forget everything and run. Well, there's another word you can use too, right? But we'll just say forget everything and run. Right. But up until the fire walk.
Had you been through AA at this point? You're clean now? Or
yeah, I've been sober for a few years.
Okay.
I've been sober since 88. This is 95. So 7 years. But I still haven't conquered fear yet. It's still dominant, right? Because here's the bottom line. What doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. So this was really my first opportunity to really do something that would change my perspective, change my mindset, and elevate my self-worth, my self-confidence, and my self-belief. So the guy makes eye contact with me, right? He gets probably 20 feet from me, and he looks at me kind of funny, right? He kind of looks his head down. He goes, "Are you okay?" And when we're not okay, what do we say? "Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. All good here. Nothing to see, pal. Move along." Right? And all of a sudden he says, "Are you going to walk tonight?" And I said, "Absolutely not." Like, "What are you, nuts? Didn't you get the memo?" And he said, "Hey, man, that's no problem." Because I said it with a strong tone, right? So he's like, "That's no problem. We don't want you to do anything you don't want to do. But let me ask you something. Wouldn't you at least like to watch?" And I thought, well, yeah, sure. That'll be fun. Let's do that. Let's watch these idiots burn their feet off. He said, "Well, listen, you can't see anything from where you are. You're literally going to just get in line, and eventually you'll get up there where you can see." Well, I've got 3,500 people standing in front of me. I can't see anything. I can hear it. I can see the big giant fire over there glowing. They're chanting. They're clapping. The drums are going. People are screaming and yelling because they're already doing it. And they're celebrating like crazy. So yeah, I can hear all this is all going on, but I can't see it. So I get in line. I'm just kind of walking along and trudging along. And all of a sudden this guy comes up to me and he whispers in my ear. And he says, "He knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go." And pew, this guy just disappeared into the night. I'm like, what was that? Who was that? Why did they do that? Right? It's like, are you kidding me? Like, weird. I'm not. Yeah, it was. It was just like, because he was like, "He knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go." Pew, and he was gone. And so I'm kind of trudging along, and all of a sudden, guess what? I get to a point, Carmela. I can see him. I can't see in front of me, but I can see at an angle. And they're doing it. Every race, every creed, every color, every age, they're walking on fire. And now my brain's going, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? Why would they do this? Metaphorically, what's happening? And I'm mesmerized, right? It's kind of like looking at a car wreck, when you're not supposed to, right? You can't take your eyes off it. Same thing here. I could not take my eyes off it. And I'm just staring at it. I'm in a zone, if you will. I am just mesmerized, right? And all of a sudden I'm walking along and boom, guess where I am? I'm at the front of the line.
Nice.
And I'm looking down, and there's that lane. It's 3 feet wide, 18 feet long. The coals are on top. 18 feet long.
Feet of fire.
And the coals are glowing bright red. I mean, it's midnight, right? And there's a wheelbarrow there. You can feel the heat coming off. My heart's going ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. I felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. I was scared to death. And so I'm staring at it. Well, there's a trainer standing there. And all of a sudden the trainer goes, "Eyes up." Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay. So now my eyes are up. Well, when you're in the room with Tony for 10 hours, guess what he teaches you to do? Keep your eyes up. I'm a slow learner. What can I say? And so now my eyes are up, right? It's like, focus to the end. Don't stare at what you fear. Look to the end. Look to the celebration. That's where the transformation is going to happen. So now my eyes are up, and he said, "Squeeze your fist and say yes." And I went, "Yes." And he went, "Stronger." And I went, "Yes." And so he could tell I was leaving a lot on the table. I was not in a peak state. Close, but not quite there. Well, he screamed at me again. And then I went ballistic. I threw my hands in the air. I screamed yes as loud as I could. And he goes, "Go, go, go." Pooh. I took off.
You did?
Oh, I did. And here's the interesting part. Here's the first thing I learned about firewalking. When you take the first step, oh, you'll take the second, third, fourth, and fifth. I promise you, right?
Oh my God.
Well, at the end of the lane, there's two people there. There's what they call anchors, and they lock arms, and they catch you and stop you. And they're like, stop, wipe your feet and celebrate. And I'm wiping my feet, and I'm like, I'm in disbelief now because I just did it. And I have no idea how I did it. I walked on fire. Coals are 1,000 degrees. And then all of a sudden it dawns on me. I burnt myself really, really bad. Super bad.
You did?
And I pull up my foot and I look at it. It's dirty, but there's no burns. It's my other foot. I look at it. Yeah, it's dirty, but there's no burns. I just walked on coals that were 1,000 degrees. I was successful at it. I didn't burn myself, and I didn't have a clue how I did it. You know, we've all done that, right? You do something really cool, really awesome, and you don't even really know how you did it, but you're like, yep, that's me. That's this guy. I did that.
I did that. Mm-hmm.
I did that.
Right.
Well, see, now when you're in that end on the celebration end, there's 3,000 people back there at this point, jumping up and down, screaming, celebrating. It's exhilarating.
Yes.
I mean,
sure.
you think you can do anything. You could accomplish anything. Where's Mount Everest? Let's go.
Did you leave something on those coals? What was it? I mean, we could conjure up all kinds of images. How you were fighting it. You didn't want to do it. You thought it was ridiculous. You spent 10 hours in a room eating snacks with Tony Robbins and 3,500 people. And you're not going to do this one thing. You'll do everything. And there you are. And you did it. And you come out. Your feet aren't burnt. What was the aha moment? Did you stand there and think to yourself, I'm free. My feet are on fire, but I'm free. I mean, what happened at the end of that 18-foot walk?
It was the next day that got me.
The next day.
You're in the moment, right? So it's exhilarating. Yeah. It's probably something very similar to a professional athlete when they win a game, or they get the gold medal, or they win the MMA championship, or whatever, right? Because that's what's going on in your body. I'll tell you where you can see it. Go watch Oprah's Firewalk. And watch her from the moment she starts, when she's going, oh my God, no, I'm not going to do this. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, she's losing it, right? It's fight or flight syndrome that's going off in your head. And then all of a sudden there's a moment where Tony says to her, he says, what's the worst that can happen here, Oprah? Burn your feet off and die? Come on. I'm not going to let you get hurt. And she goes, oh. Right? So she goes, oh. It's like, if that guy came up to me, he said, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. I'm standing there. There's the trainer, eyes up. Squeeze your fist and say, yeah, stronger, 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 go. So he knew when I was ready, and he got me ready, right? So that thing was congruent. That guy who came up to me, who said, he knows when you're ready, and the trainer knew when I was ready. Boom. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. The next day, right? We're on day 2. This is a 4-day event. That was day 1. The evening of day 1, now we're in day 2. 3,500 people standing in the foyer getting ready to go into the venue. I have never seen anything like it in my life. You won't see anything like it in life. Unless you go to a Tony Robbins seminar or you hire me. Because the bottom line is, our collective consciousness was, again, here's what was happening. People were laughing. They were crying. They were hugging. They were connecting humanistically, unlike anything you've ever seen.
You just did something that you just thought was this is not possible. This is not happening. It doesn't make sense. It's something you see in the movies, but you did it. So you did the impossible. It's kind of like
if you climb Mount Everest with a group of people, there's a connection there for the rest of your life.
Great way to put it.
If you go through a near-death experience, same thing. I got a buddy of mine. He was the last passenger off flight 1549, U.S. Air, Miracle on the Hudson. Those people that went through that together, there's a connection, right? Because it's such a heightened state that, boom, again, your frequency is raised. Is the only really way to put it. And so that's what was happening. Well, later in the event, I met one of Tony's trainers, Ted Macy, super, super sweet guy, and his wife, Mary, who both were trainers for Tony years ago. And I was just talking to him, super guy, and we're just talking. And I go, Ted, this must be amazing, man, to come back and be in this environment. You know, it's going to rub off on you. He said, oh, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, as a matter of fact, he goes, you see all those people over there wearing those black T-shirts with the pink writing on them? Yeah. He goes, they're all volunteers. They're guys, they're people just like you. They came, went through the event, and want to come back and give back to the community.
Awesome.
So he said, right, so when you go home, call Robbins Research, tell them you want a crew application, volunteer, and they'll send you an app. And I did. And I filled it out, sent it in, and like 7 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. Dave Albin, congratulations. You've been selected to crew with the Anthony Robbins Companies in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Wow.
Well, my foot was in the door. And that led, I won't bore you with the whole rest of the backstory on that. I ended up becoming a subcontractor. I had a military and a security background, so I started helping take care of Tony's celebrities.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. I had a farm. We owned a farm. And so I knew how to use log splitters and drive equipment and tools and all that. So they went, hey, he knows how to use a log splitter, put him outside with the fire team, and which is right where I wanted to be. And then they offered me a subcontracting position. When you're a volunteer for Tony, you pay for everything. You pay your hotel, you pay your airfare, you pay for your food, your snacks, if you will. You pay for everything. But when they hired me as a subcontractor, they paid for all that. So I went from spending $2,000 every time I wanted to go be in that environment to they were paying for it. Well, 2003, my life took another really interesting turn. Tony offered me the fire captain position. And what that meant is that I would take over all of his firewalks globally. And I originally said I can't because I homeschool my kids. And they stepped right up and said, well, we'll pay to have your family come with us. And so they did, right? Can you imagine taking your kids homeschooling on the road with Tony Robbins? My daughter was their first firewalk. She was 6. My son was 9. Their first event was in Sydney, Australia. You think this has had an effect on my kids? You think?
Yes.
Blessed. Well, and then 2005, we went to London and we set the world record. We firewalked 12,300 people. Now I say world record. I want to clarify something. Yeah, right? Guinness was not there, so it's not documented. But here's what I can tell you: no one's ever done a firewalk anywhere close to 12,000 people, unless it was a Tony Robbins seminar at 10,000. In fact, Tony was just in the UK at Birmingham. They just firewalked 9,000 people.
That's amazing. So this is a thing. Is it something you're doing now? Like if we all said, this whole gang that's here in the studio today, we want to do a firewalk, is that something we can do through you? Will you help us?
Oh yeah. And here's how that developed, right? So in 2014, my life took another hard turn. I'm driving down the road, Carmela, and guess who's calling me? I'm looking on my cell phone. It's Google. What? Hello. Hey, is this Dave? Are you the Dave Albin that does the firewalks for Tony Robbins? Yeah. What can I do for you? They're like, well, if you're not under any contractual obligation or non-compete, we'd like to talk to you about hiring you and bring you to Mountain View and do an event for 148 of our executives.
Nice.
I'm like, okay, well, first of all, Homeboy's a free agent. I can do what I want. Tell me about that. Well, they had a graduation that they were doing. And they wanted to do the firewalk, but they wanted to do it in the middle of the day. And I said, Dave doesn't do firewalks in the middle of the day. It's a safety issue. It's a safety concern. No way. I won't do it. It can't. I have to wait until it's nighttime. I've got to be able to see the color of the to control the heat of the calls. I need to be able to see the color. Can't see it during the day. I said, but I tell you what we can do. We can do a glass walk, and that's where I'll show them how to walk on broken glass. They're like, what? What? Walking on broken glass? Yeah. Ooh, tell us about that. So I did.
I have a question. So is the broken, and I know we're tight on time now, is the glass and no, it doesn't make sense. My question is the glass like laid out to where it's all the smooth stuff so you're not going to hurt yourself? Or is the fire like, is it, how in the heck is this?
Can you burn yourself? Yes. Can you cut yourself? Yes. Is there a way to do it so that you won't? Yes. So let me answer it that way. I set a world record in Paris in 2019. I did the biggest glass walk in the world. We glass walked over 1,500 people. I set the world record in the fire walk, 12,300 people. But back to your point, back to your question. When Google called me, that's when I realized there was an unbelievable marketplace in corporate America for these types of paradigm shift corporate team building experiences. They're life-changing. They're unbelievable. And so that's when Firewalk Productions was born in 2014.
Love it.
And the next thing I know, Carmela, I'm at NASA. I'm at Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, Remax, Heineken, Chick-fil-A, YMCA, high schools. Everybody in their all levels, from Fortune 100 to junior high schools, have hired me to bring them in and create inspirational experiences.
So you teach them how to go through this, much like you did. But we all can do it. We can walk across the hot coals. We could walk. Sure. I love it. You're offering an opportunity to have literal transformation, not just a mindset, because that's a part of it, but even the physical, like, I did it. That's huge and fascinating, Dave. I love the way you tell the story, and I love that you're sharing this with us. It's amazing, isn't it? How life can take those turns and how we come out more than just okay on the other side.
Well, very few people know what it's like to become a Navy SEAL. They just don't, right? You don't become a Navy SEAL by sitting your happy butt in a chair in a classroom all day, right? That's part of it, okay? But you're also going to do a night swim, off the coast of San Clemente, where there's, 11 different types of sharks, right? So again, the fears you don't face become your limits. And so that's just where it is. And that's what happened to me, see, because when I did that firewalk, I went from forget everything and run to face everything and rise. Or as we like to say in AA, behind the scenes there, I know Peter will like this, your audio man, false images appearing real, right? So yeah, this is life-changing. And the other thing I did, I'm kind of sneaky, I brought the board break experience in with the firewalk, right? So now it's a martial arts thing. Now they write something on front of the board they want to move towards, something on the back they need to move away. I have them write anybody's name on that board they're in conflict with, meaning that if forgiveness and reconciliation is part of that relationship, put their name on the board. It ends tonight. You're going to leave it on the fire. And then to create the rite of passage, I have them write anybody's name on the board that they've lost to bring that loving ancestral energy to the firewalk. And that creates a very, very, very unbelievable, powerful experience.
This is brilliant. I love it. It's unique and intriguing, but it's real. You're helping people make these transformative experiences that stay with them, because why I like this so much. Yes, it's interesting and it's intriguing, and many of us have never been around it, but it's so physical. There's so much touch. Like for those of us who are more kinetic, I'll remember that. That will remind me of what I let go or what I've been hanging on to. You know what I mean? Like it just seems
right. So
a big connection there.
It's going to hit all the modalities. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. It lights you up like a Christmas tree, because you all the the oxycodone, everything in your body, all the chemicals in your brain are being released. And so, it creates lasting change, because you never forget it. You can put people on stage all the time and they can go to an event and hear somebody talk for 2 days, and a month later, they don't even remember the person's name, nor do they even remember have a takeaway for it.
Right. That's so true with you at a firewalk, or you put a walk with broken glass. You guys, everybody wants to do this now. So just go to his website. I have it up. It's firewalkadventures.com. That's awesome. You can connect with our guest, become friends. He has much more to tell, I'm sure. And on the website, you can see pictures and videos. It's really fascinating. Go ahead, Dave.
In closing, I started the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy a while back. It's coming up in November. I bring in 9 people. I bring them up here to the Appalachian Mountains. You spend a week with me. I train you on everything that I know, and then I send you back to your respective company or your business or your whatever it is. You're a coach, a trainer, whatever, and then you're well trained to go facilitate these experiences. And so we sold our 8th ticket yesterday. And so we have one left for the event. And I'll give your viewers a code. If somebody wants to go to the website, up at the top left corner, it says Academy. Click on that. Go check it out. If we do a discovery call and you think this is for you, I'll give them a substantial discount for being on your podcast today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I love that. That's awesome. One very fortunate, blessed person.
And that code is, so I can know it was for your show, 6828.
6828.
Yep.
Thank you for that gift. And thank you for this gift.
Pleasure.
You are, wow. You're as hot as a firewalk. Really,
well,
the story's been amazing. You filled our hearts today and got us excited about life. You really have.
That's your podcast. You know, there's a lot to this. I don't think a lot of listeners know how much work that is. There's a lot of editing. There's a lot going on. It takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment. You got to be all in. You got to be super focused, and you got to be able to play full out when you're doing this. And you've done just that, Carmela. So congratulations on a great show.
That means a lot. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave, if you'll stay for a second. I know Peter wants to give a quick thank you to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you must be just sort of eye open, wow, firewalk and walking on glass and inspiring and inspiration and motivation and all of it. That's why we call this Under the Spotlight. People who have impact, who are an inspiration, and add value to our lives, and sometimes really make the biggest difference. I hope you'll continue to tune in Under the Spotlight. Thank you to Dave Albin for being our amazing guest today. I really enjoyed him today, and I hope you'll stay tuned for more.